Admiral Lisa Martinez stood on the observation deck of Centauri Station and watched the stars through the massive viewing windows. 3 years had passed since humans first met the Galactic Council. 3 long years of proving themselves worthy of membership in the galaxy's most powerful organization. Today was the day they would finally get their answer. Dr. Amy Foster walked up beside her with a tablet in her hands. The xenobiologist looked nervous as she checked the latest reports from Earth. Amy had spent months studying every alien species in the Council. She knew their customs, their languages, and their politics better than almost any human alive. "The vote will happen in 2 hours," Amy said quietly. "I've been watching the delegates arrive all morning. Most of them won't even look at our people." Lisa nodded, but kept her eyes on the stars. She had commanded ships in the Europa War before first contact happened. Back then, humans only fought other humans. Now they faced something much bigger than any war Earth had ever known. Commander Kate Williams appeared in the doorway behind them. Her diplomatic escort vessel had brought the human delegation to this moment. Kate had seen more alien worlds in the past 3 years than most humans could imagine. She understood better than anyone how small Earth really was in this vast galaxy. "Admiral, the Council chamber is ready for us," Kate reported. "All 849 species are present for the vote." The 3 women walked through the station's corridors toward the Great Chamber. Aliens of every shape and size filled the hallways. Some looked almost human, while others seemed impossible to understand. Lisa had learned to read the body language of dozens of different species. Today, most of them seemed hostile. They entered the massive council chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy sat in floating platforms arranged in a perfect sphere. At the center, a beautiful elf woman with silver hair and green eyes stood at the speaker's podium. Her name was Kale Thara, and she represented the Sylvan Consortium. Unlike most council members, she had always treated humans with respect. The voting began immediately. Species after species announced their decision. The pattern became clear very quickly. Almost every voice said the same thing. No, humans were too aggressive, too dangerous, too young to join the council. Lisa watched the vote counter on the main display. 847 votes against human membership, only 2 votes in favor. Kale Thara had voted yes, along with a small aquatic species called the gentle swimmers. A tall crystalline alien named Zixandra floated to the center of the chamber. She spoke for the Hegemony faction, the most powerful group in the council. Her voice rang like crystal bells as she delivered the final verdict. "The humans have been rejected," Zixandra announced. "They are too warlike for membership in our peaceful organization. However, we have decided to help them learn better ways." Lisa felt something cold grip her stomach. This didn't sound like rejection. This sounded like something worse. "For the past year, we have been supporting the Korthak Empire's expansion toward human space," Zixandra continued. "The Korthaks are excellent teachers. They will show humans how dangerous the galaxy can be. Perhaps this will make humans more grateful for Council protection in the future." The chamber erupted in confused voices. Even many Council members seemed surprised by this announcement. Amy grabbed Lisa's arm as the meaning became clear. The Council had been helping Earth's enemies. Kale Thara stood up from her platform, her face pale with shock. "This was not part of the vote," she called out. "You cannot make such decisions without full Council approval." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Kate's communicator crackled to life with panicked voices. From her ship, "Commander Williams, we have multiple contacts jumping in system. Korthak battle fleet, at least 50 ships. They're heading straight for the station." The main display switched to show space around Centauri Station. Massive alien warships appeared from nowhere, their hulls covered in spikes and armor. The Korthaks were known for their brutal tactics and love of conquest. They had been expanding their empire for decades, crushing anyone who stood in their way. Lisa realized the truth immediately. This was not just rejection. This was assassination. The Council had lured Earth's entire diplomatic mission to this station so the Korthaks could eliminate them all at once. "All human personnel to emergency stations," Lisa commanded over the station's communication system. "This is not a drill." The council chamber descended into chaos as alien delegates scrambled for safety. Many seemed genuinely surprised by the attack, but others looked like they had been expecting it. Zixandra and her allies calmly activated personal shields and watched the confusion with satisfaction. Kate was already running toward the docking bay where her ship waited. Amy stayed close to Lisa as they fought through the crowds of panicking aliens. Kael'thera appeared beside them, her face determined. "I can get you to a secure dock," the elf said. "My ship has better shields than yours." "Why are you helping?" "Us?" Lisa asked as explosions began shaking the station. "Because this is wrong," Kael'thera replied simply. "The Council is supposed to protect peace, not create wars." They reached Kael'thera's ship just as the first Korthak boarding pods began striking the station. The elf's vessel was sleek and fast, designed for diplomatic missions rather than combat. As they launched from the dock, Lisa could see Kate's ship taking heavy damage while trying to cover their escape. More human ships throughout the system were being overwhelmed by the massive Korthak fleet. Lisa watched helplessly as vessel after vessel disappeared from the sensors. Hundreds of Earth's best diplomats, scientists, and officers were dying. Amy worked frantically at a data terminal, downloading everything she could from the station's computers. "I'm getting evidence of the conspiracy," she reported. "Financial records, communication logs, everything that proves the Council planned this." As they reached the edge of the system, Lisa sent one final transmission back toward Earth. Her message was simple, but carried the weight of humanity's future. "The Council betrayed us. They will never accept us as equals. The galaxy sees us as a threat to be eliminated. We tried peace. They chose war. Prepare for what comes next." Kael'thera's ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying the last survivors of humanity's diplomatic mission toward an uncertain future. Behind them, Centauri Station burned while Korthak ships celebrated their victory. The age of human diplomacy was over. Something new was about to begin. President Claire Thompson stood in the war room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains and stared at the holographic display showing Earth's solar system. 2 years had passed since the betrayal at Centauri Station. 2 years of building in secret, while the galaxy thought humanity was hiding in fear. The display showed thousands of small dots scattered throughout the asteroid belt and beyond. Each dot represented a hidden shipyard, weapons facility, or training base. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for war since the moment Admiral Martinez's message reached Earth. Admiral Lisa Martinez entered the room carrying a stack of reports. She had changed in the past 2 years. The diplomatic uniform was gone, replaced by military gray. Her eyes carried the weight of command over the largest military buildup in human history. "How many ships do we have now?" Claire asked without taking her eyes off the display. 2,734 combat vessels completed," Lisa replied. "Another 800 in final testing. Production rate is increasing every week." Dr. Maya Chen looked up from her workstation across the room. The chief of advanced weapons development had barely slept in months. Her teams had created technologies that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Fusion lance weapons that could cut through any known armor. Quantum stealth systems that made ships invisible to every type of sensor the Council used. "The new stealth destroyers are ready for field testing," Maya announced. "Captain Turner's squadron can begin reconnaissance missions within the week." Captain Rachel Turner had volunteered to pilot humanity's most dangerous missions. Her job was to take the prototype stealth ships deep into Council space and gather intelligence. Every time she left Earth's solar system, there was a chance she would never come back. "What's the latest from our friend?" Claire asked, referring to their secret ally. Lisa smiled slightly. "Kael'thera made contact again yesterday. She's been moving between worlds, staying ahead of Council assassins. The information she's provided has been invaluable." The elf had become humanity's most important intelligence source. After escaping Centauri Station, she had gone into hiding among the galaxy's underworld. From there, she fed crucial information about Council fleet movements, political tensions, and military weaknesses. Many Council members now considered her a traitor, but she continued to believe that humanity deserved a chance. An alarm chimed softly. Maya Chen walked over to a secure communication terminal and activated it. The face of a strange insect-like alien appeared on the screen. This was Vexaria, a member of a species called the Tracker Swarm. For months, she had been trying to infiltrate human space as a spy for the Council. What Vexaria didn't know was that human intelligence had captured her 6 months ago. After learning about the Council's systematic elimination of other species, she had agreed to become a double agent. Now she fed false information back to her handlers while providing real intelligence to Earth. The Council is becoming suspicious, Vexaria reported. Several patrol fleets have reported equipment failures in the outer sectors. They're starting to wonder if these incidents are connected. Rachel Turner had been behind those equipment failures. Her stealth ships had been conducting surgical strikes against isolated Council assets for months. Each attack was designed to look like random mechanical problems or pirate raids. No evidence was left behind to suggest human involvement. Tell them the failures are spreading, Maya instructed Vexaria. Make them think it's a computer virus affecting older ships. That should keep them busy for a while. After the transmission ended, Claire turned back to the strategic display. Red markers showed known Council fleet positions. Blue markers indicated human forces. Yellow markers represented potential allies, species that might join humanity if the time came for open war. The resistance movements are growing stronger, Lisa reported. Kael'thara says at least 12 species have formed underground networks inspired by our defiance. They're sharing intelligence and preparing for coordinated uprising. This was perhaps the most encouraging development. Humanity had learned that the Council had been eliminating problematic species for thousands of years. Entire civilizations had been declared extinct when they were actually destroyed by Council enforcer fleets. The survivors of these genocides had gone into hiding, waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the Council's power. Dr. Maya Chen activated another holographic display showing the technical specifications of humanity's new ships. Unlike the traditional designs used by Council species, human vessels were modular and adaptable. A single ship could be reconfigured for different missions within hours. More importantly, human ships were designed specifically to counter the tactics and technologies of each major Council species. The Elven ships rely on speed and energy shields, Maya explained as she walked through the data. Our fusion lances can overload their shields in seconds. The crystalline species use redundant systems that make them almost indestructible. Our new quantum torpedoes create chain reactions that cascade through their hulls. Every aspect of human, military technology had been designed with one goal in mind. When the time came for open warfare, humanity would not simply match Council forces. They would dominate them. Captain Turner appeared on the communication screen from her ship somewhere, in deep space. Her face was illuminated by the glow of instrument panels as she prepared for another reconnaissance mission. I'm approaching the Meridian system, she reported. Long-range sensors show a major Council shipyard in orbit around the fourth planet. This looks like a primary construction facility for their battle cruisers. Proceed with caution, Lisa ordered. Observe and record everything, but do not engage unless discovered. Turner's missions were becoming increasingly dangerous as she penetrated deeper into Council territory. Each successful reconnaissance provided vital intelligence about enemy capabilities and vulnerabilities. Her data had helped Maya's teams design countermeasures for dozens of different alien technologies. President Thompson looked at the reports from across human space. Every major industrial center was now dedicated to war production. Civilian shipyards had been converted to military use. Mining operations in the asteroid belt worked around the clock to provide raw materials. The entire human economy had been transformed into a war machine. When do you think we'll be ready? Claire asked Lisa. The Admiral considered the question carefully. Our numerical advantage grows every day, but we only get one chance at surprise. Once we reveal ourselves, the Council will throw everything they have at us. The Outer Rim attacks are working perfectly, Maya added. Council forces are becoming increasingly frustrated by the mysterious equipment failures. They're starting to redeploy ships to investigate, which spreads their forces thinner. Vexaria had reported that Council military commanders were arguing among themselves about the strange incidents. Some believed they were facing an unknown pirate organization. Others suspected a new form of computer warfare. None of them imagined that humanity was responsible. As the meeting continued, reports came in from across the solar system. New ships were completing their trials. Weapon systems were exceeding performance expectations. Training exercises were preparing human crews for the largest military operation in galactic history. Kael'thara's latest intelligence indicated that the Council was planning a major offensive against several independent worlds. They intended to expand their territory while their enemies were weak and divided. What they didn't know was that humanity was preparing to turn their expansion into the beginning of their downfall. "The timeline is accelerating," Lisa announced. "If we're going to act, it needs to be soon. Every day we wait gives them more time to discover our preparations." Claire nodded slowly. The decision would soon be made. After 2 years of building in secret, humanity was almost ready to emerge from the shadows. When they did, the galaxy would discover that the species they had tried to eliminate had become something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. The age of human hiding was coming to an end. The age of human conquest was about to begin. Captain Nicole Brooks watched the tactical display from the bridge of the UES Phantom as her stealth carrier drifted silently through space. The ship was completely invisible to Council sensors, hidden by quantum stealth technology that bent light and energy around its hull. For 6 months, her vessel had been operating in the outer rim of Council space, striking targets and vanishing like a ghost. Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez stood beside her, studying the intelligence reports from their latest mission. Her boarding teams had just completed a raid on a Council detention facility, rescuing 43 survivors from a species the Council claimed was extinct. Each rescue operation provided new allies and valuable intelligence about Council operations. "The liberated gentle swimmers confirmed our suspicions," Sam reported. "The Council has been systematically destroying entire civilizations for over 3,000 years. Any species that shows signs of rapid technological advancement gets marked for elimination." Nicole nodded grimly. Humanity had unknowingly followed this same pattern. Their rapid development after first contact had triggered the Council's standard response. The betrayal at Centauri Station was not personal or political. It was simply how the Council maintained control over the galaxy. Dr. Maya Chen appeared on the communication screen from her mobile laboratory ship. She had been field testing new weapons systems during actual combat operations. Her quantum disruptors had proven devastatingly effective against Council shield technologies, while her adaptive targeting systems could automatically adjust for the defensive patterns of different alien species. "The latest weapons test exceeded all expectations," Maya reported with satisfaction. "We hit that Council supply depot with a single quantum torpedo. The chain reaction destroyed their entire ammunition stockpile. Local authorities are calling it a storage accident." This was the key to their shadow war strategy. Every attack had to look like something other than human military action. Equipment failures, pirate raids, storage accidents, navigation errors. The Council was losing assets across their territory, but they still had no idea who was responsible. Kael'thara's image appeared on another screen. The elf had spent months moving between underground hideouts, staying one step ahead of Council assassins while coordinating resistance movements across dozens of worlds. Her silver hair was shorter now, and her green eyes carried the weight of constant danger. "The intelligence you provided about the hegemony trade routes was perfect," Kael'thara reported. 3 major shipments have disappeared in the past week. Council merchants are starting to demand military escorts, which is stretching their patrol fleets even thinner. The resistance movements were growing bolder with each human success. Species that had hidden in the shadows for centuries were beginning to strike back against their oppressors. Coordinated sabotage operations were disrupting Council logistics throughout the Outer Rim territories. Admiral Zarethi floated in her command center aboard the Council patrol vessel Deep Current. The aquatic alien had been hunting the mysterious raiders for months without success. Her intelligence reports described impossible attacks that left no traces behind. Ships simply vanished. Installations suffered catastrophic failures. Supply convoys disappeared without sending distress signals. "There's a pattern here," Zarethi insisted to her staff. "These incidents are too coordinated to be random. Someone is conducting a systematic campaign against Council assets." Her reptilian intelligence chief, Nyessa, remained skeptical. "All evidence points to increased pirate activity and equipment failures. There's no proof of organized military action." But Zarethi had commanded fleets for over 2 centuries. She understood warfare better than most Council officers. The attacks showed sophisticated planning and advanced technology. This was not the work of common pirates. Captain Brooks reviewed the mission parameters for their next operation. Intelligence. indicated a major Council research facility on a remote world in the Vega sector. The facility was reportedly conducting experiments on captured members of extinct species. This would be their most ambitious rescue mission yet. We'll need to move fast, Nicole told her officers. Council response time in that sector is approximately 4 hours. We'll have to penetrate their defenses, locate the prisoners, extract them, and escape before reinforcements arrive. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez had been planning the boarding operation for weeks. His teams had studied the facility's layout, guard rotations, and security systems. They knew exactly where to strike and how to avoid detection until the last possible moment. The facility has 3 detention levels, Sam explained as he walked through the assault plan. Level 1 holds recently captured individuals. Level 2 contains long-term prisoners. Level 3 is where they conduct their experiments. The thought of what the Council was doing to their prisoners filled Nicole with cold anger. The galaxy saw them as the peaceful maintainers of civilization, but the truth was far darker. They were genocidal tyrants who eliminated anyone who threatened their control. The Phantom approached the target world using its stealth systems. Council sensor. Stations detected nothing as the human ship slipped past their defenses. The research facility appeared on the main screen, a massive complex of interconnected buildings surrounded by energy barriers. Rodriguez led his boarding teams through the facility's lower levels, while Nicole monitored from the ship. The rescue operation proceeded exactly as planned. Security systems were bypassed, guards were neutralized silently, prisoners were located and evacuated without triggering any alarms. The rescued individuals represented 5 different species, all supposedly extinct, according to Council records. They had been captured during routine exploration missions to their home worlds. The Council had been using them as test subjects for biological weapons and psychological experiments. As the boarding teams returned to the ship, Nicole prepared to send a message that would change everything. For months, they had maintained complete secrecy about human involvement in the attacks. But the time for hiding was ending. All Council forces, this is Captain Nicole Brooks of the Human Defense Fleet, she transmitted on all emergency frequencies. We have your prisoners. We have your data. We know what you've been doing to innocent species for thousands of years. The transmission continued as the Phantom began moving away from the facility. The Galactic Council claims to represent peace and civilization. In reality, you are genocidal murderers who destroy anyone who threatens your control. We tried diplomacy. You chose betrayal. We tried peace. You chose war. Council response vessels were already launching from nearby systems, but they would arrive too late. The Phantom's stealth systems made it impossible to track as it escaped into hyperspace. Admiral Zarethi received the transmission while her fleet was investigating another mysterious attack. For the first time, she had proof of who was responsible for the Shadow War. The humans were not hiding behind their defenses as everyone believed. They were conducting an organized military campaign across Council space. Send priority alerts to all Council systems, Zarethi ordered. The humans are not in their home system. They're here, among us, striking at will. But her warnings came too late. As reports flooded in from across the outer rim, the scope of human operations became clear. Dozens of facilities had been hit. Hundreds of Council assets had been destroyed or captured. Supply lines had been systematically disrupted. Noyesa stared at the intelligence reports in disbelief. How is this possible? Our sensors detected nothing. No human ships have been observed in Council space. Kael'thara received confirmation that the Shadow War phase was ending. Resistance cells across the galaxy prepared for open conflict. The species they had rescued were sharing intelligence about Council weaknesses and providing detailed information about enemy fleet compositions. Dr. Maya Chen's weapons had proven themselves in combat. Human stealth technology was superior to anything the Council possessed. The modular ship designs allowed rapid adaptation to changing tactical situations. Most importantly, the element of surprise was complete. Nicole Brooks stood on the bridge of the Phantom as it jumped toward the next target. The message had been sent. The Council now knew that humanity was actively hunting them. The Shadow War was ending, but something much larger was about to begin. Admiral Lisa Martinez received the reports from all human stealth fleets operating throughout Council space. The preliminary phase was complete. Council forces were scattered and confused. Their logistics were disrupted. Their intelligence networks had been compromised. It was time for the next phase. Time to show the galaxy what humanity had been building, while everyone thought they were hiding in fear. Time to reveal the fleet that would change the balance of power forever. The shadows were lifting. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the greatest military formation in galactic history take shape around her flagship. 3,000 human warships had emerged from hidden positions throughout Council space, their quantum stealth systems deactivating simultaneously to reveal humanity's true strength to a shocked galaxy. Captain Diana Foster monitored the fleet coordination displays as ship after ship reported ready status. The months of careful planning were finally being put into action. Every vessel knew its target, its role in the massive coordinated assault that would strike dozens of Council strongholds at the same time. All strike groups report ready, Diana announced. Fleet deployment is complete across 47 systems. The timing had been perfect. Council forces were still scattered and confused from months of shadow war attacks. Their communication networks had been compromised by human intelligence operations. Most importantly, they had no idea that humanity possessed a fleet of this size. General Patricia Hayes commanded the ground forces aboard the massive troop transports that accompanied each strike group. Her soldiers had trained for 2 years to fight in the diverse environments they would encounter on Council worlds. Unlike their enemies, human forces were adaptable and could operate effectively in any conditions. Ground assault teams are prepared for simultaneous landings, Patricia reported. We have detailed intelligence on defensive positions for all primary targets. Kale Thara coordinated the Elven resistance forces that had openly joined the human fleet. Her people had suffered under Council oppression for centuries, forced to serve as diplomatic figureheads while having no real power. Today, they would finally strike back against their oppressors. Elven strike squadrons are in position, Kelthera confirmed. We know the weak points in every Council defensive system. Our ships are smaller than yours, but they can reach places your fleet cannot. The joint human-elven force represented something unprecedented in galactic history. 2 species working together as equals, combining their unique strengths to overcome a common enemy. It was exactly what the Council had always feared. Fleet Mistress Quindara commanded the Council's primary military headquarters from her massive space station in the Centaurus sector. For over 1,000 years, her species had maintained peace through superior firepower and strategic coordination. Nothing had ever challenged their control on this scale. Alarms began blaring throughout her command center as reports flooded in from across Council space. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously in dozens of systems. The attacks were perfectly coordinated and overwhelming in scope. How many ships are we facing? Quindara demanded from her subordinates. Initial estimates suggest over 3,000 human vessels, her tactical officer reported. The ships appear to be using advanced stealth technology we've never encountered before. 3,000 ships was larger than the entire active Council fleet. Humanity had built a military force that matched the combined strength of dozens of alien species. Worse, their technology appeared to be specifically designed to counter Council defensive systems. Vexaria transmitted false intelligence to Council commanders from her position as a double agent. Her report suggested that the human attacks were limited to the Outer Rim territories. She directed Council reinforcements away from the real targets while feeding accurate information about enemy movements to human forces. Council fleet movements are proceeding exactly as predicted, she reported to Admiral Martinez. Their response pattern follows the defensive doctrine we obtained from captured files. The intelligence advantage was proving decisive. Human forces knew where Council ships would deploy, how they would respond to different threats, and what their tactical limitations were. Every aspect of the assault had been planned to exploit these weaknesses. Dr. Maya Chen monitored weapons performance from her command ship as the first engagements began. Her fusion lance technology was cutting through Council shields like they didn't exist. The quantum torpedoes were creating cascade failures in enemy hull structures. Most importantly, the adaptive targeting systems were automatically adjusting to counter each species' defensive patterns. Weapons efficiency is exceeding all projections, Maya reported with satisfaction. Council armor and shielding provides minimal protection against our systems. The technological superiority was becoming evident in every engagement. Council ships that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were being destroyed by smaller human vessels. Their supposedly invincible defensive systems were failing catastrophically. Captain Foster coordinated the flagship's participation in the assault on the Council's primary military headquarters. The massive space station had never been successfully attacked in its 1,000-year history. Its shields could withstand the combined firepower of entire fleets. "Target the shield generators with concentrated lance fire," Diana ordered. "All batteries focus on grid section 7. The Retribution's weapons struck the station's shields with devastating precision. Instead of the expected energy absorption, the shields began overloading and collapsing. Maya's technology had found a frequency resonance that turned the station's own defensive systems against it. General Hayes led the first wave of ground assaults as human forces landed on 12 different Council worlds simultaneously. Her soldiers moved with precision and speed that confused enemy defenders. Unlike the rigid military doctrines used by Council species, human tactics were flexible and unpredictable. "Planetary defenses on Rigel 7 have been neutralized," Patricia reported. "Local populations are welcoming our forces as liberators." This was perhaps the most significant development. Many worlds under Council control had been waiting for centuries for someone strong enough to challenge their oppressors. Human forces were being greeted as heroes rather than conquerors. The Battle of the Nexus became the most famous engagement of the war. Admiral Martinez personally led a force of 800 human ships against a Council fleet 3 times their size. The enemy had every advantage in numbers, positioning, and defensive preparations, but they had never faced human tactical flexibility before. Lisa's fleet used modular reconfiguration to adapt to changing battlefield conditions. Ships changed roles in the middle of combat, transforming from assault vessels to support platforms as needed. "Enemy fleet is fragmenting," Captain Foster reported as they watched the Council formation collapse. "Their command structure cannot adapt to our tactical changes." The Council fleet had been trained to fight according to rigid doctrines that had worked for thousands of years. When faced with opponents who could change their entire tactical approach in minutes, they became confused and ineffective. Kale Thara led a daring assault on the Council's communication hub in the Vega system. Her elven ships used their superior speed to penetrate the defensive perimeter while human forces provided covering fire. The combined operation succeeded in capturing the facility intact. "We have complete access to Council military communications," Kelthara reported. "Every order, every troop movement, every strategic decision is now visible to us." This intelligence coup effectively ended organized Council resistance. When military commanders cannot communicate securely with their forces, coordination becomes impossible. Individual systems began surrendering rather than face destruction. Several Council species began switching sides as the magnitude of humanity's victory became clear. The rigid hierarchy that had maintained galactic peace was crumbling as member. Species realized they could choose their own futures. Admiral Martinez broadcast a message to the entire galaxy as Council resistance collapsed around them. Her words would be remembered as the moment when galactic civilization entered a new age. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is Admiral Lisa Martinez of the Human Defense Fleet. The Galactic Council that has oppressed you for thousands of years no longer exists. We did not come as conquerors, but as liberators. Every species deserves the right to determine its own destiny." The fleet that had blotted out the stars was now bringing light to worlds that had lived in darkness for millennia. Humanity had proven that the Council's power was not absolute. The galaxy would never be the same. President Claire Thompson stood before the assembled delegates in the Great Hall on New Geneva Station, the former Council headquarters that had been transformed into the seat of the new Terran Federation. Representatives from over 200 species filled the chamber, many of them speaking freely for the first time in their civilization's histories. 6 months had passed since the Council's unconditional surrender. The old order that had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years was gone, replaced by something unprecedented in galactic history. A government based on merit and mutual respect rather than species hierarchy and fear. Admiral Lisa Martinez sat at the leadership table, still wearing her military uniform, but now serving as Minister of Defense for the new Federation. The fleet that had conquered the galaxy now protected it from those who would return to the old ways of oppression and genocide. "Today, we establish the Galactic Charter of Species Rights," Claire announced to the Assembly. "Never again will any civilization face extinction simply because they develop too quickly or think too freely." Ambassador Amy Carter had replaced the military officers who negotiated the Council's surrender. Her job was to transform former enemies into partners, helping species that had served the old hierarchy learn to work within the new democratic system. Kyle Thara had become the first non-human to hold high office in the Federation, serving as Minister of Interspecies Relations. Her appointment symbolized the new order where leadership was based on ability rather than which species someone belonged to. "The reconstruction efforts are proceeding ahead of schedule," Thara reported. 47 worlds that suffered under Council oppression have requested Federation assistance in rebuilding their societies. Dr. Maya Chen led the technology-sharing programs that were transforming the galaxy. Human innovations in weapons, shields, and faster-than-light travel were being adapted for peaceful purposes. Species that had been kept at primitive technology levels for centuries were rapidly advancing. The medical applications of our quantum technology have eliminated disease on 12 different worlds, Maya announced. Agricultural improvements are ending hunger on dozens more. The galaxy is becoming a better place for everyone. Former Council leader Thex Moran sat in the section reserved for representatives from former enemy species. The tall, gray-skinned alien had commanded the Council during its final years. Now he was learning to work within a system where his species had no special privileges. "The transition has been difficult for my people," Thex Moran admitted during his scheduled address. "We are accustomed to ruling others, not cooperating with them as equals, but we are learning that this new way brings benefits we never imagined." The War Crimes Tribunals had been completed, with Council leaders who ordered genocides receiving appropriate punishment. But Claire had insisted on reconciliation rather than revenge. Former enemies who accepted the new order were welcomed as equals. Admiral Martinez reviewed the latest fleet reports from her office overlooking the station's central plaza. The human military continued to grow, but its mission had evolved. Instead of conquest, the fleet now focused on peacekeeping and exploration. "The Korthak Empire has requested Federation membership," her aide reported. "Their military commanders are particularly interested in our joint training programs. This was perhaps the most remarkable transformation. The species that had been used to destroy humanity's first diplomatic mission were now asking to join the Federation they had tried to prevent. The power of the New Order's ideals was spreading throughout the galaxy. Captain Diana Foster commanded one of the new exploration fleets that were mapping unknown regions of the galaxy. Her mission was to make contact with species that had hidden from the Council's genocidal policies. Each new civilization they discovered added to the Federation's strength and diversity. "We've made contact with 17 previously unknown species in the past month," Diana reported. "All of them are eager to join a galactic government that protects rather than oppresses." The galaxy was larger and more diverse than anyone had realized. Thousands of civilizations had hidden in remote systems, afraid to reveal themselves to the Council. Now they were emerging to participate in galactic civilization for the first time. General Patricia Hayes oversaw the integration of former Council military forces into the Federation's peacekeeping units. Her soldiers worked alongside former enemies, teaching cooperation and shared defense strategies. "Mixed species units are performing exceptionally well," Patricia reported. "Human tactical flexibility combined with alien technological specializations creates superior capabilities." The integration was not without challenges. Species that had fought each other for centuries had to learn to trust and work together. But the shared experience of building something better than what came before was creating bonds that had never existed. Vexaria had been appointed as head of Federation Intelligence Services. Her experience as a double agent during the war made her uniquely qualified to prevent the kind of conspiracies that had enabled the Council's genocidal policies. "The monitoring systems are working perfectly," she reported. "Any attempt to organize species-based discrimination or superiority movements is detected and addressed before it can spread. The new government was designed with safeguards to prevent any single species or group from gaining too much power." The lessons of the Council's rise and fall had been learned and incorporated into the Federation's structure. President Thompson reviewed the reports from across Federation space. Economic growth was accelerating as species shared technologies and resources freely. Scientific advancement was proceeding at an unprecedented pace. Most importantly, conflicts between species were being resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. The gentle swimmers have developed a new water purification technology, Claire read from the daily briefing. They're sharing it freely with all Federation members. The Crystalline Collective has created new energy storage systems. The Elven Consortium is teaching advanced manufacturing techniques. This was the vision that had driven humanity through the dark years after the betrayal. Not a galaxy ruled by one species, but a community where every civilization contributed its unique strengths to the common good. Ambassador Carter worked with former Council species to establish truth and reconciliation programs. The goal was not to punish entire civilizations for their leaders' crimes, but to ensure that the full history of Council oppression was known and remembered. We've documented over 300 species that were eliminated by Council forces, Amy reported. Their stories are being preserved so that future generations understand the cost of unchecked power. The memorial to extinct species had become one of the most visited sites on New Geneva Station. Beings from across the galaxy came to pay their respects to civilizations that had been lost to Council genocide. Dr. Maya Chen announced the completion of her latest project during the monthly technology briefing. The new faster-than-light communication system is operational across Federation space. Real-time coordination between distant systems is now possible. This advancement solved one of the fundamental problems that had plagued galactic governments for millennia. The ability to communicate instantly across vast distances made true democratic participation possible for species throughout the galaxy. Admiral Martinez stood on the observation deck and watched the ships moving through space around New Geneva Station. Human vessels worked alongside alien designs in perfect coordination. The sight would have been impossible just a few years ago. The patrol fleet reported 3 more systems requesting Federation protection. Her communications officer announced. They're being threatened by slavers operating from the Outer Rim. The Federation's military might was being used to protect the weak rather than oppress them. Piracy and slavery were being eliminated as Federation forces expanded their peacekeeping operations. 5 years after the betrayal at Centauri Station, President Thompson prepared to address the galaxy on the anniversary of the Federation's founding. Her speech would be broadcast to every inhabited world, reaching billions of beings who now lived in freedom. We gather today to celebrate not just the defeat of oppression, but the birth of something greater, Claire began. A galactic community, where every species has a voice, where diversity is celebrated rather than feared, where cooperation replaces conquest. The transformation was visible everywhere. Former Council worlds had become vibrant centers of culture and learning. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked together on projects that benefited everyone. The galaxy had become a place where dreams could come true rather than be destroyed. Admiral Martinez received the final report of the day as she prepared to leave her office. 3 more star systems had petitioned to join the Terran Federation. The community that had begun with humanity's defiance was still growing, still welcoming new members who shared its ideals. The war fleet that had once blotted out the stars now carried explorers and scientists to distant worlds. The weapons that had shattered the Council's power were being converted into tools for construction and healing. The galaxy had learned that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to build something better.